Back at Tri-Cities Coliseum, I'm Kirk Williamson, along with Tri-City Americans assistant coach Gerry Johannson. And Gerry, right off the bat, a couple of big hits, including one by Sean LeBrun on Will Anderson, that really set the tone for this game.
Yeah, that's sure. There's not a better way to start a hockey game than with a big hit like that. And we tell the guys before the game, they're coming into our rink, let's set the tone for the game. Sean, you're starting first. Let's get a big hit. And he answered the bell for us, boy. He rung Will Anderson's bell pretty good.
Well, then Anderson goes to the locker room, comes back out, and Dirksen gets him about 6 seconds after he got back on the ice.
That's right. We were working on their defense. That's probably their weak spot tonight, and it was lucky for us. Dirksen, followed through with another big hit on him, and he was hurt, and I think they carted him off to the hospital later on. And before the night was over, a couple of their other defensemen were hurting too. So I think that played a big part in tonight's win.
Well, the Americans with Jakes and Kraus out. The lineup, depending on the younger guys, depending on Devin Dirksen, depending on Sandwith and Colin Ruck to do the job.
Well, that's right. They don't play a lot all the time, especially when we're healthy. And we, like a night like tonight, we're missing Kraus, we're missing Jakes, and those guys just played fantastic. Sherstenka and Dirksen played like veterans out there, and when we called on Ruck and Sandwith, they played great, and Murray Duval did a job back there, and of course, talking to Kelly Kutowicz earlier, he just took the majority of the load himself. He played just outstanding.
Well, the Americans are with a couple of days off, and then the Saskatoon Blades in town, and that could turn out to be a real battle.
Well, yeah, Saskatoon, they're a tough team, and coming from the East, we really don't know what to expect. We know they're good, but we haven't had a chance to see their lines go, so it'll be an interesting game. You're going to see both teams probably, giving it their best, and I think you'll see a really good hockey game.
Darwin McPherson, an old teammate of yours, right?
Oh, Bomber's back in town, yeah. He's a good buddy of mine. So there's nothing I'd like better than for us to, hand him a loss on the road.
Well, that was the trade, Darwin McPherson for Kelly Kutowicz, that brought Cutter to the Tri-Cities, and it certainly has turned out to be I would guess that both teams would say they're happy with that trade.
That's right. Sometimes a player, in a certain atmosphere doesn't perform its best, and I think, Bomber needed a change, and I think, well, obviously Kelly has, blossomed in this atmosphere. I'm sure anybody would in this atmosphere, but, Cutter did, and, I think for both players and for both teams, it was a good trade.
The Americans stay 4 points ahead of Seattle in fourth place. Seattle beating Spokane tonight, or at least late in the game, leading 3-1. So the Americans need to keep piling up those wins.
Well, that's right. We're not counting on Seattle losing. I mean, if we're making the playoffs, we're going to do it by winning. And, the way we're playing, we've won 7 out of 9. We got to be pleased with that. We're playing playoff hockey, too. That's the other thing. We're winning some close hockey games. Even the games we lose, like we lost an overtime game in Victoria. When it comes to a 9-game series, against Portland in the playoffs, we'll be prepared for it.
You'd rather play Portland than Victoria in the first round?
Well, I'm pretty easy. I would play either team, but I think we're going to catch. If we play Portland in the first round, we're going to catch them coming down a little bit. I mean, they started off this, the year with a real bang, and I think they're starting to taper off a bit. But you can't take them too lightly. Come playoff time, it's a different season. That's what you say. When playoffs come, it's a fresh start. It's a fresh season. So I'm sure they'll be rejuvenated by then. But there's nothing I'd like better than to knock Portland out of the first round.
Gerry Johannson, the Tri-City Americans assistant coach. Final score, the Americans winning it by 2, 6-4 over the Victoria Cougars. Thanks for listening. I'm Kirk Williamson. Good night on this Tri-Cities Radio Americans hockey broadcast.